How's everybody doing? Guys, it has been a while since I have jumped on here. Welcome back to the channel, and I feel refreshed. Just had a vacation, some nice time off, so thank you for coming back after I take these breaks that I do for my mental health and just in general to stay sane and stay sharp, I guess, too. I don't know. All right, guys, we are days away. We are days away from the NHL draft lottery in 2023, the Connor Bedard sweepstakes, where this draft lottery will change the dynamic of an NHL franchise forever. I say forever because no matter who drafts him, no matter how long he stays with whatever team drafts him, he's going to make an impact on that team that will last forever, that will leave a mark, no matter how long he stays there. In total, there are three things I want to talk to you guys about today. The first thing that we're going to do is a draft lottery sim. I have not done any so far. I'm only going to do one, and I'm going to do it on the Montreal Canadiens website with their draft simulator. I want to do this with you guys, but I am going to do one draft sim here. I'm going to do a screen share so you guys can see exactly what's going on and see who wins this lottery. It's going to be fun, so let's do this first, and then we're going to talk about a couple of more things Habs related, including Juraj Slafkovsky and the pierre-luc Dubois saga that continues, even though he's still not a member of the Montreal Canadiens. But anyway, let's do the draft sim first and have some fun. All right, you guys, let's give it a go. Let's simulate the lottery here and see what happens. And the Montreal Canadiens actually drop a spot down to 6th. They go from 5th to 6th. As we know also, though, they cannot be worse than 7th. So the Montreal Canadiens cannot pick worse than 7th in the draft this year. In this particular draw, our 6th, the Anaheim Ducks win the draft lottery for Connor Bedard. San Jose coming in at number 2. Buffalo jumping up 10 spots to number 3. Oh my goodness. The Columbus Blue Jackets drop 2 spots to 4th. Chicago drops 2 spots to 5th. Habs drop 1 spot to 6th. Arizona drops a spot to 7th. The Philadelphia Flyers at 8th. And as you can see going down here, that's where it ended up for this particular draft. I said I was going to do one draft lotto. I didn't mean to fib, but I kind of did because I want to do at least one more. Can we do one more? Let's do this again, and let's see what happens. Here we go. Another draft lottery, and the Habs go even further down into 7th. Oh my gosh. A part of me doesn't even want to post this now because I don't want to be blamed. I don't want to get blamed if the Habs end up getting 6th or 7th spot in the draft lotto, but you know what? Third time's a charm. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but you know what? What the heck with it, right? Let's have a bit more fun. Let's do one more draft sim, and let's see what happens. Here we go. Last one. We can't do worse than the last one, and the Montreal Canadiens win the draft lottery. Woohoo! There it is. The Habs move up 4 spots from 5th to 1st, and you know what? I'm sticking with this one. I know I said I was only going to do one. I did, but I think it's fair to do 3. I think that it's definitely fair to do 3. And I got to say, I'm surprised. I shouldn't be too excited right now because this is just a sim, right? But this was fun to do. This is my first time doing this with you guys as well. So this was a lot of fun. As far as Juraj Slafkovsky goes, he just made a recent appearance on the Raw Knuckles podcast with Chris Nyland, Knuckles himself. And honestly, it was actually a really good interview. It was really enjoyable listening to Slafkovsky, learning more about him, and just some great questions, some great insight given by himself and Knuckles on his game and how he basically became a hockey player right from the very start. But more specifically, in terms of the videos that I have made recently, mentioning how I do think that sometime in Laval could do Slafkovsky well. Slav doesn't want to play in Laval. That he actually made clear on the Raw Knuckles podcast. And I thought that was interesting because certainly last year there was criticism to go either way, right? I mean, if he was darned if he did, darned if he didn't go to Laval. And then, of course, he got injured in January and his season ended. But Juraj Slafkovsky, ultimately, you know that the Canadiens want to get his development path corrected and do what's best for him. But Slav feels like there's no better place to learn how to be a pro than in the NHL. So he doesn't see the value, at least himself, in playing in Laval. So what's going to happen next season? Well, it depends on what happens when he shows up to camp, how he plays in the preseason. But I'm not going to pretend to know what the right answer is, but I do like the confidence that's coming from Slav telling us as fans, telling the media, telling anybody listening that he feels like he has the most to learn and the most room for growth by playing in the NHL and not in the AHL. That's a big thing to say for a player, and he is 19 years old now, Slafkovsky is. The Canadiens will ultimately decide, and so will he next season based on the way that he plays, where he's going to end up playing. I just think that an 82-game season is a lot of games to expect a 19-year-old to play, especially when he's still getting cultivated to the North American game. So to me, that's part of the reason why I suggested Laval, because I thought it could be a good confidence booster. We didn't get to see him dominate in the World Juniors last year, which maybe was still okay and the right move because the Canadiens didn't feel like he had anything else to learn at the junior level maybe. So maybe there's something to learn at the AHL level. He can get his confidence up, get his points numbers up, but maybe it just isn't the best place to foster growth for your first overall draft pick. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I do like the confidence coming from Slav saying that he feels like what he learned last year can only be built upon, and we'll see what the Canadiens do with him, right? We're going to see what becomes of that situation, and I think that the Canadiens know what they're doing. They learned from last year. They learned from the injury situation. The medical team is going to get a much more thorough walkthrough in terms of how they're going to deal with injuries and preventing injuries also. So let's let this one play out. Slafkovsky, if he remains in Montreal all of next season, that's good, because that means that he deserves to be there and that he's trending upward. All right, so let's end with the continuous Pierre-Luc Dubois saga that just seems to keep plaguing us until he either does or doesn't become a member of the Montreal Canadiens. The Winnipeg Jets season, as we know, is over, losing in the first round to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights. Now, despite what we've heard from Elliot Friedman in the fact that Kirby Dach has been linked to trade rumors with Pierre-Luc Dubois, I definitely don't see it happening. I don't think that it makes sense. I don't think that the Canadiens would have made the trade that they did last year to acquire Kirby Dach the way that they did, trading away Alex Romanov, trading away, a top 15 draft pick in order to acquire Kirby Dach, only to trade him again when, especially Kirby, they do see him as a center, and also his ceiling could be close to Pierre-Luc Dubois in point totals, at least as of right now, when he gets to Pierre-Luc Dubois' age, which is 25. As we know, Kirby is only 21. So by the time Kirby's 25, we could start to see him put up those 50, 60-point seasons or even more. So if you're going to take the risk of acquiring Pierre-Luc Dubois and having to obviously pay him a lot more salary, that's a big risk to take, especially the fact that they really like Kirby's character. They like the way that he plays. There's not red flags around him like there is Pierre-Luc Dubois right now. So I don't think it would be a one-for-one. Certainly, there would have to be other pieces going towards Winnipeg, but I do not think Kirby Dach is going to be one of them. There's decent opportunity to get more of a bargain out of Kirby Dach's current deal, which is just over $3.5 million or so, give or take. And that's going to bring him closer to the age of 24. And he'll certainly be due for a pay raise at that point. But I do feel like the Canadiens really like Kirby Dach. They do see him as a center. So if you're going to add Pierre-Luc Dubois, I don't think you subtract Kirby Dach. I just don't see it, especially the fact that both Dubois and Kirby Dach could play the wing also. I just don't see them subtracting Kirby Dach for him. One of the most interesting quotes I got here from Ken Wiebe, who just released an article on sportsnet.ca the other day, talking about how Kevin Cheveldayoff, GM of the Winnipeg Jets, has some big decisions to make with the core four on the Winnipeg Jets right now. That being, of course, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuck, and Pierre-Luc Dubois, all due to become unrestricted free agents by next summer in 2024. So that being said, one of the most interesting pieces from this article here is about Pierre-Luc Dubois specifically in saying, quote, "If Cheveldayoff can't sign Dubois, extracting a significant return becomes a must, especially when you consider he moved Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic to acquire him." In 3 seasons with the Winnipeg Jets, Pierre-Luc Dubois put up 64 points as his season high and career high with the Winnipeg Jets and for himself. And we heard it recently on the Tony Marinaro Sick podcast that one of his guests said that he feels like Pierre-Luc Dubois could be making more than, say, Nick Suzuki by the time he signs a UFA deal with whatever team that happens to be, if it's the Montreal Canadiens. He feels like Dubois may earn more than Nick Suzuki. At this point, I don't think you can look that far ahead. And where I'm at with this is Dubois is nowhere near, at least at this present moment, becoming a member of the Montreal Canadiens. So I don't want to speculate much more. I don't know how to feel about him anymore. I know there's red flags about his character. I feel like if he gets to Montreal and things are going well, great. And if the money's right, great. But eventually, sometimes when you're a Montreal Canadien, especially a French Canadian Montreal Canadian, that sounds funny. We just saw it with Jonathan Drouin. We know how that turned out. He's not the same player whatsoever as Pierre-Luc Dubois, but I will say, though, that you heard Max Pacioretty say it too, and I know he wasn't a French Canadian, but sometimes in Montreal, players have a shelf life. And I don't know if that was just a Marc Bergevin era thing in terms of how they were trying to build the team during his tenure, but it does concern me as a fan to think that he might eventually grow tired of the pressure of the spotlight in Montreal that could take away his love for the game, that could just put too much of a focus and spotlight on him, and I don't know if he could handle it. We saw how Jonathan Drouin handled it. Not the greatest. He had some mental health issues along with that pressure, which isn't good. And you know what? I just don't know. I really don't know when it comes to this player anymore. So I don't want to talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois anymore until there's some more rumblings about an actual trade happening and if and when it happens, because I don't think that Dubois is going to return to the Winnipeg Jets next season. I just don't think it makes sense. I mean, there are other teams that could be interested, though. The Rangers, the Bruins, are talked about in this article. So it's not just the Montreal Canadiens where he could end up. There are 30 other teams if you don't include Winnipeg, other than the Canadiens and Winnipeg, where Dubois could end up. So I just don't think there's much more to be had in this situation until something actually happens. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget that I will be doing a live stream of the draft lottery this Monday starting at 7:30 on this channel. So come join me live for my live reaction to see where the Canadiens end up in the draft lottery, where they're going to pick. Are we going to get Connor Bedard? Are we going to get Adam Fantilli? Are we going to get Leo Carlsson, Will Smith? The list goes on. We can't pick worse than 7th, so that much we know for sure. So I'm excited. Come join me live. It's going to be fun wherever you are. I would appreciate it, and it's going to be fun to have you guys. So we'll see you then. Go Habs, go guys. We'll talk to you and see you real soon.